live service games continue to be an antibiotic-resistant STD that's infecting everything it touches. The hope and promise of millions, if not billions of dollars, is an allure no one can resist. But much like Pandora's box, once opened, it cannot be shut. The infection causes an itching and burning that never ceases, and the monetization pustules grow and expand until they burst, showering those around it with skins, currencies, and other useless cosmetics. You're short $50 and you have a head full of regret because you know you got played, and the nostalgia you felt for Company of Heroes 2 is long gone along with your dignity. Company of Heroes at its peak had over 36,000 players online at once, and it's rumored to have sold a minimum of 300,000 copies. So why did Relic and Sega announce massive layoffs today? Before we get started, we need to talk about something important. A lot of these decisions were probably made way above the developer's head. So I think we should give those decision makers a name, because often YouTubers and content creators will say developers, which drives a false narrative that developers are the ones making these preposterous choices. And in typical corporate fashion, they announced this via Twitter by tweeting an image, which I will show you now so we can read it together. Relic Entertainment and Sega Europe want to share the difficult news that our studio has been impacted by layoffs, affecting 121 employees. This comes at a time when external factors are challenging our industry more than ever. And we made this decision to restructure our organization to ensure maximum focus is placed on our core franchises. Relic and Sega remain fully committed to supporting and investing in our titles, including the recently released Company of Heroes 3. We're confident that following this necessary restructuring, Relic will be in a position of strength to continue delivering outstanding experiences to players all around the world. This decision was incredibly difficult. Relic is a studio that treasures our people and is proud of the culture we've grown. And right now, our focus is on supporting departing employees in every way we can. We would like to offer our sincerest thanks to each of them for the part that they played in making Relic a special studio. I think it's important that we don't judge Relic too extremely on how they announced their layoffs. At least they announced them. There are several studios in the Twitter world or in the development world that kind of just lay everyone off and never make an announcement. Relic, though, is a rather large studio, and I guarantee that they could not fly under the radar if they did try to hide these layoffs. I would also like to highlight one of the paragraphs as well. Relic and Sega remain fully committed to supporting and investing in our titles, including the recently released Company of Heroes 3. So, with the recent layoffs, I imagine that the roadmap is going to be delayed quite significantly, and legacy features are going to continue to be missing from either the roadmap or just being delayed in general. I also think bug fixes will become more of a priority, and creating content is going to become less of one. But I do think the only thing that we can truly surmise from this is that the people responsible for the mistakes that Company of Heroes 3 made and the failures possibly did not lose their jobs, careers, nor did they lose their salary. And if anything, they'll go on to destroy more franchises and continue to profit from the destruction of the companies and the entire video game genre. The truth is that Company of Heroes was a decisive game for the franchise, as it attempted to bring the RTS genre into the present, but not in the way that many people or you would think. So what did Company of Heroes do wrong? Company of Heroes did not innovate on gameplay, mechanics, it was a graphical downgrade, and honestly, it didn't include most of the legacy features in Company of Heroes 1, 2, or really any legacy real-time strategy game. This trend is not specific to Company of Heroes, or really any other genre, but the issue is that Company of Heroes 2 is an absolute powerhouse with dedicated fans and a dedicated player base, whose lowest expectations were somehow not even met, and I mean they, as in Relic, weren't even in the same galaxy as the players. Company of Heroes before launch was already in trouble with the community. The deciders, that we will name them, chose to limit modders' abilities to create skins for Company of Heroes because Relic wanted to sell skins in the cash shop for currency. Because at the end of the day, Company of Heroes 3 is no longer a game, but a digital storefront or cash shop. By now, you're asking yourself, what did Company of Heroes 3 do right? And how did it bring the RTS genre into the present? Because it definitely did not bring it into the future. Well, the answer won't surprise you in the least. Company of Heroes 3 attempted to become a live service model. That's right, that is how they joined the present. They attempted to create a digital storefront. Company of Heroes 3 should have arrived to 2023 with a bang. Instead, it fell as flat as the sound design in the game. Company of Heroes was hemorrhaging players daily. It was an absolute massacre, blood all over the floor. And the only hope for Company of Heroes was for Season 1 to come out swinging. And guess what? It landed flat. It landed unbelievably flat with players. The future of Company of Heroes 3 and the series remains shrouded in mystery, much like the fog of war. I am generally expecting delays, miscommunication, and the eventual death of this game. Relic, you have failed to meet the absolute barest minimum expectations of the community. Name tags are missing, replays are missing, and basic content is not even in the game. These are not brutal expectations that the developers or the deciders would like you to believe. A bug-free experience is a myth in 2023, and companies continue to redefine what a least viable product is. Today, Company of Heroes 2 has more players than Company of Heroes 3. Company of Heroes 3 continues to bleed players daily, and I imagine soon that it will be abandoned by both the community as well as Relic. The RTS genre and the future of it remains a mystery, because players are perfectly content with older versions of the game. Company of Heroes 2 continues to outperform 3. While that launch was rocky as well, that's not what drove players back to Company of Heroes 2. As developers and publishers try to bring these genres into the future, they don't innovate, they don't change, they don't enhance graphics. They just adapt a new monetization strategy. They see the money other companies are making, and they want to make that money as well. And I don't necessarily fault them for that, because if I could line my walls with $100 bills, I 100% would too. But you're going to struggle bringing this genre into the future, especially with a community and a fan base that has no issues with playing an older version of the game. I mean, there are hundreds of games we can list off that have extremely dedicated communities, and they love those games. People love Company of Heroes 2. I mean, it was still performing extremely well even while 3 launched. So, to try and replicate that in 3 while gutting it at the same time was a losing strategy. And very clearly, the developers did not think that through. And I firmly believe that it wasn't on the developers, but more on management and managers, or at least senior managers, attempt to bring the series into the future. And you can't bring it into the future if you don't bring a full product with it. That's all I'm going to say. Peace out, guys.